It's cold. Check that out. That's the look of frost. We just had our first frost up here in the Northeast, and that's normally time for me to hightail it out of here. But we've got some family commitments that are going to keep us in the Northeast through the new year. So I've got some winterization tasks that I need to take care of. And it got me thinking that we haven't told you guys how we use our VIAIR air compressor systems to winterize these RVs, which saves us time, money, and keeps a lot of that nasty tasting antifreeze out of our lines. Now, we also spoke to VIAIR, and I've got some really cool deals, basically access to the best deals of the year through the early Black Friday sales event. So come along, I'll show you some winterization tips and get you some good deals. All right, so let's start with the discounts. Now, VIAIR has authorized me through manufacturer rebates to give an additional 15% off the already bottom line prices that you see at mobilemusthaves.com. And better yet, if you're a member, that's going to stack with your member discount. So that could be like 25% off. That's crazy for these systems that just never go on sale. It's Black Friday, they're authorizing it, but I gotta say, take advantage because it's going to be while supplies last. These are going to move, they're very popular. Discounts are right there below in terms of how you can get access to that offer. And if you're watching this video after November and you missed the sale, make sure you check out membership.mobilemusthaves.com. That gets you 10% off site-wide. It's a great membership. It supports our community. It gets you access to the Mobile Internet Resource Center. All sorts of great perks. 2-day shipping, blah, blah, blah. Tons of stuff, so check it out. Okay, so now before we get into winterization, I want to give you kind of a high-level overview. Now, everything you see on this table, I actually travel with, regardless of what rig I'm in. And it looks like a lot of stuff, but because of these ultra-portable little cases that they have that fit all of the accessories, I don't even really notice it. They're kind of one of the best things about VIAIR is how compact the stuff is, besides just how absolutely great it works. Now, any system you're looking at, if you click on the video tab on the listing page, it will have a detailed description of that particular product. I'm going to keep it high level, focus on the winterization, but at the end of this video, I will kind of give a high level of like the small, medium, and large and what they fit well for in terms of use cases, just so that you kind of get the cliff notes. Now, since traveling on the road since 2015, I've found that having these two compressors for me is like the ideal pairing. And I'll kind of get into it, but let me tell you a little bit about kind of what I travel with. Now, if we're doing long haul, kind of gone for 6-month trips, we're typically in the big Class A diesel pusher. It's a big girl. She's about 50,000 pounds, and it's got a lot of tires, tag axles in the back, and the tires range anywhere from about 85 to about 115, 120 PSI in the front. So I need a lot of pressure and a lot of air volume to keep these tires happy. Over here, I've got a 13,000 pound or so all aluminum ATC toy hauler that we use for trade shows and short trips. We tow this with a 2500 series diesel pickup truck. It's a bumper pull, not a fifth wheel. It's about 35 feet long, and it doesn't have a lot of needs from a tire pressure perspective. We'll go into more detail later in the video, but just covering some of the high levels of my setup, I've got a 450 series VIAIR for the big bus. What I love about this is look at that massive 50-foot long cable. It means it doesn't matter where your batteries are. When you're hooking up the pump, you can get to all of your tires. I love that it includes this knee saver cable. It allows me to just screw on the connection to the tires and then stand up and fill my tire and not worry about having to press a wand down and hold it to maintain a perfect connection. It's just my favorite thing about it. It comes with all those adapters for filling balls and bicycles and everything else you can think of. And that trigger handle is just such high quality. I can not only add air, but I can, with the side button, remove air if I overfill. It just lets you dial it in perfectly. For those folks that have dually tires, this one is key for getting access if you've got those inner valve stems that you've got to get to and you need the ability to fill on both sides. It comes with that. The duty cycle on the 450 is infinite. It basically means it'll just run forever and provide air. So you could fill up tires from dead flat. It's just an amazing pump. Why do I carry this little guy? Well, honestly, because it's a little guy. It's so small. Look at this little tiny case it comes in. It's like 8 or 9 inches long. It literally is, I think, 9 inches. It's so tiny. It comes with this 25-30 foot hose. You can check the listing for the exact length, but it's just so portable, so easy to use, and absolutely great. It goes up to 120 PSI. So when I'm looking at, the 2500 truck or topping off these tires, I got to go from, 65 to 75 PSI. It's like a minute. It's quick and it's fast and it's portable. What I like about that is I leave it in the truck. I'm not usually carrying around this big one. I leave that in this RV for the most part. And if I ever get stuck on the side of the road, something happens, I got a flat, whatever, I've got a pump with me that doesn't take up any space in my truck. Before we go on into winterization, just a word about tire safety. I know you've heard it all before, but after sitting down and speaking to tire experts, folks that have actually manufactured tires, and listen to what they have to say, tire inflation is so crazy important to your safety. It's not even funny, not to mention your wallet. If you have a tag axle vehicle like this and you're underinflated by just 5-6 PSI, you're effectively dragging that tag axle rear wheel behind the wheel right in front of it. It's destroying the tires, it's not good for the axles, and it's dangerous. If you've ever seen a tire blow out, it's bad. On the front tires, an underinflated front tire could lead you to quite possibly the worst RVing situation that I don't want to go into, but you do want to take tire inflation very, very serious. Not to mention, properly inflated tires cost you less money. You get better gas mileage. All right, I'll stop talking about tires. Let's talk about winterization. So VIAIR came up with this, and it's not rocket science, but it's really well made and it integrates so well into their kits. And this is a air valve system that they call their RV winterization kit. What it's effectively doing is it's taking a compressor that has the ability like this to go up to 150 PSI, and it's adding in a gauge here so you can see how much pressure, and a valve here so you can control it, as well as these quick connects so that you can connect it all up to your existing system so that you can use it to blow air through all of your water lines to get that water out to properly winterize the system. They include this handy garden hose to air adapter as well. So you screw this on, as I'll show you right now, into your water inlets, and then you can connect up the entire system here to the compressor and then regulate up the proper amount of air pressure that you're going to be running through the system. You typically don't want to run more than 40 PSI through a water system to protect your pipes and ensure you don't cause any damage to any copper pipes or any PEX pipes. Now, you always want to refer to your RV manufacturer's instructions because a lot of them are different and they do other stuff with plumbing, but I'm just going to keep it really simple on this ATC travel trailer, which I think is plumbed like a lot of these travel trailers out there. It's pretty simple. But before I do that, you want to make sure your propane is completely off and your 12-volt systems are completely off. You don't want that hot water heater attempting to fire on electric or propane when you're winterizing the system. And I think it goes without saying to say, don't open up your hot water heater if it's hot. I think you guys all know that. This has been off for 12 hours. It's nice and cool. While I'm letting my hot water heater drain, I'm going to go ahead and get my air compressor system working. And now's a good point to mention that you need a 400 or 450 series VIAIR to do winterization. It's one of the reasons why they're a bit more expensive, because they have the duty cycle and they have the capacity to keep that CFM kind of amount of air pressure consistently going through the pipes to allow you to do an effective winterization. Before we hook up the air system, we do have to deal with the fact that the hot water heater has that gaping hole in it where we took the anoid rod out. So you can kind of do one of two things. You can put the rod back in and tighten that up, and you're good to go for next year. Obviously inspect it or replace it if you need to. Or you can actually put the water heater in bypass mode, which means that you're basically bypassing the water system from the hot water heater, which is typically done behind the system. All RVs will have that in the user manual on how to do that. Next, I'm going to take my VIAIR winterization kit and I'm going to back off this knob nice and far so that I know, and that's counterclockwise, so I know that I've got the system set to basically provide no air into the system. I'm going to go ahead and connect up my compressor to power, and I'm going to hook up all my hoses and connect up to my winterization adapter. Now I've screwed in the garden adapter here, and now I'm going to connect up the winterization kit, as you can see there, and then I'm going to dial in the air pressure to be about 30 to 40 PSI. Once that's dialed in, I'm ready to go ahead and screw on my garden hose adapter to my freshwater inlet. don't do your tank fill inlet. You don't want to just blow air into your tank. You want to make sure that you're on city, not tank fill, and you're ready to go. Before I hook up the compressed air, I'm going to go into the RV and into the bathroom, and I'm going to turn on my bathroom faucet. I'm going to kind of split it between hot and cold here so that I get access to both the hot and cold water lines. Now I want to open this up before I connect the compressor just to make sure I don't create an overpressurization system as I'm hooking everything up. Now I'm going to go ahead and hook up the VIAIR winterization system, as you can see here. Depending on if you have a buddy with you, a second person, you can incorporate the trigger as well if you want to be able to turn on and off the air and have somebody outside monitoring the pressure to make sure you don't have an overpressure situation. But I'm typically doing this alone, so I don't use this because I don't want to have to hold this trigger down. And that's the beauty of these quick connect systems, is you can incorporate this or leave it out and air will just flow automatically through the system. Now there's some debate on the internet. Some people say open up all the faucets, let the water drain. I personally like to go one faucet at a time and let them drain because I think it really gives the most amount of pressure to that one leg of the system to get the water out. But make sure you do all of the water out of the cold and all of the water out of the hot. Then go to the next room, open up that faucet and go back and close the first faucet. You don't want to be in a situation where you've closed all the faucets because yes, you've got this pressure regulator out there, but I just think it's a smart thing to not have a system that's, completely pressurized with air in the system at any given time. So just leave one of your faucets open at all times. Once I'm done with that first faucet, I'm going to move on to the shower here. I'm going to go ahead and take the shower head down and put it on the ground so that I don't have water trapped in this hose you see, and I'm going to go ahead and turn that one on, and then I'm going to go turn off the bathroom vanity so that I get more pressure going through the shower. And on and on and on, depending on your floor plan and your configuration, to get all of the water out of the various different pipes and systems depending on your floor plan. So you're done, right? That's it. Well, not quite. We haven't gotten the water out of the water pump yet, and that's something that will definitely break if it freezes full of water. So the internet and myself kind of vary on this one. Now, I personally have turned on the water pump, left my compressor running, and blown air through my water pump and called it a day, and it's been fine for a couple years on a couple different RVs. It's worked effectively for me, but it's really about your risk tolerance and how comfortable you are with possibly having to replace a water pump. If you want to be the absolute safest possible, follow your RV's instructions on how to then add antifreeze to the water system. Now the good news is you didn't waste all that time pumping all the air or the water out and pumping all the air in. You'll actually use a lot less antifreeze because you got all that water out. And it's much less likely to have a freeze event if it gets super, super cold because you're not diluting the antifreeze with all that water that was in the system. So by cleaning it out, you're probably going to save 1 to 2 gallons of antifreeze, which is nice. But it's really up to you. I've done it with just air, and it's been fine. Now, we didn't cover this RV in this video, but this RV has an AquaHot system. If you don't know what an AquaHot system is, don't worry about it. It's not important to you. Everything we just said is fine. If you do have an AquaHot system, there are quite a few differences in how they are winterized. Now, you can still use air and blow out all of your systems and do all of that, but there are coils in that AquaHot system that are very sensitive and not necessarily replaceable. So you could be into the thousands and thousands of dollars situation if you let an AquaHot freeze without proper winterization. So just make sure you check your user manual on that and follow the guide to make sure you properly winterize that AquaHot. So pump is done, everything's done, we're good to go, we're all finished, right? Nope, one last step. Those P-traps, they call them P-traps because they're kind of shaped like peas, and they're in the bottom of all of your drains and they prevent odor from coming up into the RV. And they are always filled with liquid. What prevents the odor from getting up there is a little pocket of water. That water can freeze. If it freezes, it's going to crack your drain pipes. So the last step is you want to take some antifreeze and you want to dump it down each of your drains. You don't need a ton of it, but just enough to wash out the P-trap and make sure that it's filled with something that isn't going to freeze. Also make sure you pour some down your toilet because that's going to make sure that your black tank's not going to freeze. And, for good measure, maybe add a gallon to one of the drains, because that will protect your gray water tank through the winter. And that's it. We did it. That's how you winterize the system, at least in this ATC trailer. And it's pretty common in most fifth wheels and other units. But again, make sure you check your user manual. Now, I know for me, I love using the air method because it keeps that antifreeze out of my freshwater pipes. When we first started adding antifreeze to this, when we first got it, it felt like it was like a month of suddy water and a weird sweet taste, and we're like, oh, what is this? We got to get this out of our systems. We had to flush the system and run a sani cleaner. You can't run bleach through a lot of systems, AquaHots, you can't do any of that. So, you know, we use a water sanitation system, but it was just a mess. Once we were able to bypass, we have to winterize our AquaHot, but we were able to bypass and just use air to blow out our lines. It meant that in the spring, we were able to just get up and go and fill our tanks and not have to deal with any of that antifreeze stuff. All right, so let's go back and talk a little bit about the differences in the pumps, because it's confusing for folks, and on our website, having to jump through all of the different models can be really confusing. So I'm going to kind of start with the flagship unit here, the 450. And the real claim to fame with this unit is that unlimited duty cycle. The fact that it can go to 150 PSI and essentially run for an infinite amount of time is why it's more expensive and why it works so much better. The second reason for the 450 and the 400, which is very, very similar, we'll get into the 400 in a second, is the fact that it comes with that trigger system and with the knee saver cable and with the big long wand for filling your tires. It also comes with these two 25-foot hoses which can be connected together, and that gives you the full 50 plus feet for filling everything. The 400 and the 450 are essentially identical with all of that. So for a lot of our customers, they go with the 400 because it's cheaper. So why is the 450 more? It's that infinite duty cycle. Now, the 400, believe it or not, actually fills tires faster, just by a smidge, but it doesn't have the infinite duty cycle, so it could technically overheat. But the 400 has been a rock star for just about everybody I know. 400 or 450, they're very, very similar units, and they're just absolutely awesome. And they include that winterization feature if you add on the winterization kit. There's a model right in the middle that's called the 300, and that unit is really, it was kind of designed for fifth wheels and towables. The unit has a 30-foot integrated hose. It can go up to very high pressure, that 150 PSI as well, but it has a lower duty cycle rating, so it could technically overheat if you're like filling tires from dead flat. We haven't really had any reports of that. It's absolutely great, and it's a kick-butt little pump, so it works very, very well. It has an integrated hose that works a little bit differently, though, and for anyone with dually tires, this might be a problem for you because you're not going to be able to get to inner valves because you're not going to be able to have the accessory kit that you have in the 400 or 450. But if you're just looking at straight external tires, like on a regular car, or a regular towable, it's going to work great for you. It's got an integrated gauge that works extremely well, and it's a great middle-of-the-road system for under 200 bucks. And then the 89, like I said earlier, we don't have to beat it to death. It's just ultra, 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 ultra inexpensive and ultra, 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 ultra portable. I love it. It's the best little pump. I'm honestly a bigger fan of that one than almost any of the other ones, but I can't live with it. It can't be my only pump, but it is just awesome. If I've got it in the back of my car, it's saving me. This is what comes out, fills up my tires, my ATVs, the kids' soccer balls, everything else just works really well with this. I don't have to mess with getting big hoses out or anything like that. This is just a much easier play, and it's just so inexpensive at that sub $100 price point. And that really kind of covers the big differences of the VIAIR units. So to each his own, depending on what you need, you're good to go. So don't forget about that Black Friday, all of basically November. I'll put the dates below. 15% off deal on the pumps. That is absolutely killer, and it stacks with your membership discount, which is just insane. It's awesome. That's like 25% off. You're not going to see a deal better than that anytime this year. So if you're thinking about stocking stuffers or something for your non-RV folks, this little guy is a great gift for folks to just keep in the trunk of their car that'll get them out of a bad situation, or maybe just help them out with their bicycles and other whatever. All right, folks, that does it for me. I am freezing. I can't wait to go inside and have a cup of coffee. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you can reach out to us at mobilemusthave.com. You can start up a chat in the bottom right-hand corner, and we've added the phone number back to our website now that we've done some additional staffing, which is super cool. So you can give our experts a call during our normal business hours, and the phone number is just right there at the top of the page. If you want to give someone a call, you can always email us at info@mobilemusthave.com as well if you have any questions. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you on the road.